Hello and welcome to the Awaken Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Kaki Lee, a mindset coach and healer who's on a mission to share the love and wisdom of inspiring women from around the world who have gone through adversity and turned their pain into purpose. Today, I'm excited to be interviewing the founder of Impact Training and Global Impact Ellevation, Clarice Yau, who I know has so much love and wisdom to share with us today. Do I have you there, Clarice?
Yes, you do. Hi,
Hello,
Kaki.
beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Before we
Thank
get
you for
started, can you share a little bit about what you do and where you're joining me from?
so I'm joining you from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And my main space is actually in the kind of fitness, personal training, health, and wellness space. So I help people transform their bodies, but I believe in a very holistic approach. So it's a transformation mentally, emotionally, spiritually, growing themselves from the inside out. But obviously, in the fitness space, it is about helping their body get to that next level of fitness and wellness, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
it.
I love that. I was checking out your website before the interview, and you do some really amazing stuff. And it is so true. It is not just about the body. You have to work every aspect of you for things to actually for you to get results, right?
Especially if it's going to be long term,
Yeah.
right? And it's not just temporary or just for an event, and I really believe in long term sustainable health and wellness and feeling confident in your body for your whole life, if you know how to take care of it,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah,
mhm.
I love that. So, Clarice, you're my 26th guest. So, I hit two milestones. I hit 10 episodes and hit 25, and you're my 26th guest. And been this burning question that I've been wanting to ask my guests since the first episode. And I kind of ummed and ahed about it, but I feel like moving forward, this is something that I really want to ask my guests. So you're the first guest I'm asking this question
Woohoo!
to.
I love it.
Your first milestone as well for me. So my question is, what's your definition of an awakened feminine? So an awakened woman, what would you define that as?
Yeah, the awakened feminine is such a unique term that I feel like even you've kind of coined, but I feel like it's actually a balance. It's some of the first words that came to my mind is strength with love. And I believe that an awakened feminine has both, that they are strong, they are brave, they're courageous, but they also have a soft side. They also have that side where they love others, they have compassion for others, and they want to nurture. I think that's a very feminine side of woman,
Yeah.
to care for, to love others. But I think that the awakened feminine is finding that balance where there is strength there, where they have a boldness and courage to live an authentic life, as you often talk about. And I think that an awakened feminine understands, like, sometimes you may have times where you have to be a little bit harder and kind of more determined and more gritty, but there's moments where you have to be softer and you have to employ grace and forgiveness to others, but to yourself as well. And I think often as women, we're the hardest on ourselves. And I think an awakened feminine understands, like, hey, like, I have flaws, I have things that I need to work on, but I also have good parts to me, and to embrace both. And I feel like when you embrace both, you live in the most authentic space, and you live a life where you're really genuine to others, because you see people not in this black and white way, but actually as, like, we're all human. We all have struggles, but we all have good moments, and let's, like, live and embrace this together, right?
Yeah.
So that would be.
That's such a beautiful, beautiful definition. And I've got full goosebumps when you were when we were talking. And it is so true. I love that how you explain that we have the softer side and, the not harder side, but the grit and the strength and the
Mhm.
bravery, courage, and all that, but also that nurturing side. That's such a beautiful explanation. And I'm so glad I asked you that as the first person I asked. So that's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's a
Thank
good
you.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
And
just your brand of Awakened Feminine just really, like, resonates with me when I heard it even before we chatted, you know?
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, cool. Thank you. And Clarice, as a awakened feminine, so how do you ensure, you give yourself that self-love, the self-love that, she deserves? What's your top three, your favorite self-love activities?
yeah. So probably not surprising knowing that I'm in the health and wellness space. Number one is fitness. Being able to go to the gym or just go for a run, something that I'm physically moving. I feel like our bodies are energy systems, and it kind of like a body emotion stays in motion, and if it's not in motion, it stays in not in motion, and it affects your emotions, right? So
Yeah.
it's like if I'm feeling stressed and I get myself moving, it's like those feelings move as well, and it produces a greater energy in me. And I often do like personally, like I know I work in gyms a lot and all over the place, but I like a quiet gym for myself. So
Yes.
when it's my me time, it's me training, it's my space, I'm in my zone, and that really rejuvenates me. And then the second thing is dance. So some people know I've been a dancer for many, many years, and I just love music and moving to that rhythm, to that beat. And it's a soul thing. I honestly can't explain, but dance, like sometimes I will play the music and dance in my living room,
Yeah.
and that there's just an expression there that I can like exude, right? So that's the second thing. And then the third is, I think we all can treat ourselves sometimes, like self-love. I kind of wrote this down. I like chocolate is my
Yeah.
favorite. Dark chocolate.
Yeah.
So, we all need to treat ourselves, and I think it's important because sometimes people think, "Oh, no, trainers, people in the health and wellness space never eat, anything bad." And I'm like, "That's such a myth." No, that's not true. We're human, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's like being willing to have that, like, okay, once in a while I can treat myself. Once in a while I can have some things that fuels me, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, those would be my three things.
Awesome. I love how you keeping it real is like, well, I'm human. I need to have chocolate. Right?
That's
I'm
right.
not I'm not
Most
this
people would agree.
yeah, I'm not this training robot that just eats all
Yeah.
healthy foods. And dark
Yeah.
chocolate is healthy, right?
Yes. Yes. Moderately.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
Clarice, great. Let's get into your journey now. I know you were a teacher in your past life, but I'll really love you to share with us your journey from that career to now having your own company and being a personal trainer, coach, and mentor. How did that come about?
yeah. Thank you for asking. Like this, it's actually been quite a journey. I actually started off as an elementary school teacher, and since 6 years old, always said, I want to be a teacher because I love kids. I love the idea of impacting future generations. And that was my dream originally. I was like, yep, go to school, work hard, go to university, get my 4 year degree, become a teacher, 4 year right out, get hired in. Right.
Yeah.
And I did all of that, but I didn't realize like that the school system, it's just there's not a lot of support for teachers, and teachers are very overworked, and I just felt really burnt out. I was switch positions every single year. That didn't help. And I felt I wasn't making the impact that I thought I would. And I 6 years just kind of went through a lot there because I actually got shingles. You being
Oh,
a pharmacist, yeah, shingles in my year two, and I was just under so much stress, and not a lot of support at that point. And I kind of felt like I was more just working in a system to just grade kids and tell them what they're worth versus really making that impact. So after 6 years, I made a transition, a jump, and originally it was to go to Italy to try to train semi-pro over in Italy because I did competitive ballroom Latin dancing.
wow.
And yeah, it was a huge move because I would have to move a country, and I had gone to Europe to do dance tryouts and everything. And the reason is originally I wanted to be a teacher, but because the 6 years it was starting to be so taxing that I was like already dance semi-pro on the side. So I was like, you know what, I can make this a career,
Yeah.
right? But it also costs a lot of money. Like dancing is not cheap. I was working three jobs, part-time jobs on top of full-time teaching. So four
Wow.
jobs, sleeping 3 hours.
Wow.
So
I can see why you got shingles, because shingles is not something you get as a healthy, a generally a healthy adult.
22,
Yeah,
23.
it's usually when you're compromised, or if you're in the elderly range. So
Yeah.
you must have been very, very, very stressed. Yeah.
Very stressed, yeah. But also, like, I believed in my dream so much. Like, I am somebody who's very passionate. So I'm like, if this is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put everything to it. That's why worked those four jobs and I flew out to Italy. And they gave me the contract over there. I found my dance partner over there. So I thought everything was great. So I came back and handed my it's called leave of absence to the Calgary board. So as I wasn't sure at that point still, but I moved back to Edmonton and then I sold majority of my things. I sold about 70% of everything. I had my three luggages packed and I was ready to fly,
Yeah.
ready to go. And it wasn't all at once, but it was like starting to not make sense because no paperwork was coming through. I was supposed to be gone by mid-July and I wasn't. And, when I contacted them, I realized they actually never did the paperwork for the contract I signed. And I don't know what happened. I'm not from Italy. So, like basically there was no contract that was being put through, but
Mm,
then they said that they would still get me there. So I waited for a couple more months until the end of August, thinking I still would go, right?
yeah.
And then I get an email, and basically they just said, "Hey, we decided to drop your application. You no longer need to come." And it was a huge hit because I had pivoted my entire life to
Yeah.
go, right? And also I did love dance salon. That was like my next big move, right? Like my passion to pursue my dance career. And it was like in that one moment, it was like, okay, wait, I don't have my teaching job. I don't have my dance career. I need a dance partner for what I did because I did competitive Latin
Yeah.
ballroom. So no dance partner and not a lot of money
Yeah.
because it was like I spent a lot of money traveling to Europe and the tryouts, and I was waiting as well for a job, right? Going
Yeah.
to get to Italy. So I just financially was not in a good position. And I think at that point it was just I was a bit lost, like, oh my gosh, like I have nothing, like what just happened, right?
Yeah.
And I shared with you like pretty much my whole life, it's like I've been very driven, I still am, but it was like I always did everything to the max, right? Like I was like, hey, go to school, get good grades, get scholarships, graduate with my degree, go into this profession, and right. But then to have everything suddenly like taken away, that was a yeah, that was a big moment. For the first 4 years of talking about it, I couldn't talk about it without crying.
Yeah.
Now I can because obviously I understand the journey and who it's made me become, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And
Wow.
then yeah, and you asked about how it kind of transitioned to my business right now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so when everything fell apart, I didn't have a all at once epiphany. Like wish it was like that in the movies where there's lightning coming through the sky, but
Like,
it
oh,
definitely wasn't. I definitely was in a phase where it was like, I don't know. Like,
mm,
and I actually had to come to terms with I share this with you, but like, who am I without all of this? Like without my professional career, without my dance career, without financial means, like who am I? And I really started trying to seek out like what is my purpose and my calling. And I prayed at that time to just like really ask for guidance and for doors to be opened. And I just had an openness and willingness in transition. I think sometimes that's the greatest way to grow is to
Yeah.
be open. And during that time, I actually thought about, okay, like I love movement, I love health and wellness. And I was at the gym working out, and I'm like seeing personal trainers training other clients. And I'm like, I should try that. I would love to be able to like move and teach people how to take care of their bodies. And so I went and talked to the gym manager, and then the rest was history, right? They gave me the pathway, what to take, all of that. And then I went into the fitness, personal training field. And I actually started competing pretty quickly, right, a few months into
Mm,
that. And I think one of the things is like I always desired excellence, and so it's like I desire to want to continue to pursue greatness, like in myself, to like push myself. And so in competing, I quickly learned a lot of knowledge in that field, and like how to maximize your transformation, your body, eating healthy foods, completely clean. Like I didn't touch sugar for like 2 years, and when you're so clean, like you feel a completely different state, right?
mm,
And so I learned very quickly, and it helped me have a lot of successes with clients because I was living it. Right.
yes.
I think you can't teach something you haven't done. And I was living, a very, very, it's very highly disciplined in competitive realms. Right. And so, yeah, like I went to that realm. And long story short, I guess eventually I realized I wanted to go off on my own, and I wanted to build my own brand and my own company. And along the journey of my personal training fitness side, I actually met some other entrepreneurs in other spaces that did a lot of holistic mentorship and coaching.
Mm,
And it really transformed me because meeting those people, I know I was very dedicated to like fitness and like competing international in the body and everything, like I mentioned at the beginning. But
yeah.
something about what they talked about really resonated with me, is like there's success beyond just the body, right? Like it's good to take care of your health, but there's your mental, your emotional, your spiritual. Are you having healthy relationships around you? Do you have a healthy relationship with yourself?
Yeah.
What's your finances like? Are you budgeting well? And I think meeting people in that space really closed the circle for me, and I'm so grateful for meeting. To this day, I have a few mentors that's been mentoring me for 7 years,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful because they've helped me understand, like, transformation, which is kind of what my title, what I do now, transformation coaching, is is really about changing the person from the inside out. Yes, I am very specialized in helping people in fitness and can get them to that next level fitness,
Yeah.
but I want to help them um, also transform inside of themselves, in loving themselves, in building self-confidence, and knowing who they are, and not losing weight or changing their body just for a superficial reason, for pleasing others, but to ultimately do it for themselves
Yeah.
and for their long-term health, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's my whole journey.
Yeah. And what an amazing journey that you've had. And I think before we jumped on the podcast, we was saying that everything happens for a reason. So yes, it was devastating for you to not go to Italy, and that would have been horrible at that time. But now looking back, you're like, well, this is this is why I didn't go, because this is the path that I'm meant to be on. So it's just so amazing. And I want to ask you, because you said you didn't have that aha lightning bolt moment
Yeah, yeah.
to go, what should I be doing? But did you then later down your path, in any part of your path, have like that spiritual awakening or aha moment to really lead you to keep going on to the next bit and the next bit? Because sorry, because you were talking about how you met different coaches, and then you thought, oh, I'll bring in that spirituality side and all that kind of, not just fitness. So something, did anything shift, or were you quite spiritual before as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say yes, I did have an aha moment. I in meeting a lot of the entrepreneurs in kind of that success holistic realm. I went to, it was actually in the States. I actually went to a conference there that um, I just met and saw so many examples of like people who were so authentic and genuine and who lived a life that was like they were healthy mind, body, spirit, you know. And remember, I come from a fitness background and competitive dance background, and I love both, but just because you're great at dance or just because you're great at fitness doesn't mean you are actually successful. You can have a great body but have broken relationships, or still a poor self-image. You can have be the greatest dancer but be poor with your budget, like I was. But the thing I saw was that people talk so much about, like, no, let's talk about building a holistically successful life. Like, how can you build yourself to have a positive self-esteem, self-confidence? How can you have better boundaries with people to have healthier relationships? How can you yes, put in good health and fitness routines, but for the right reasons? um but and also, like, how do you financially create things for yourself as entrepreneurs to live a more purpose driven life, right? To live a life where you can impact more people. And that is my brand. As you can see, both companies has the impact word, right? Global
Yeah.
impact and elevation, and then impact training. Is at that conference there was actually a defining moment. I remember, like, just one individual crossing stage and seeing how much she embodied, like, that holistic authenticity. Like, she just had, like, she knew who she was, she knew where she was going, she was about her family first, she was about healthy relationships, she was about building, just a life of legacy where you leave an impact in this world. And that was huge, because I know in my heart I always want to impact. That's why I became a teacher, but I didn't know what path I would take, right? And I mean, I started as a teacher, and I thought maybe as dancer I could be have my dance company eventually. But no, it kind of never what you thought. Went into the fitness and wellness space, and then through that, obviously expanding into this holistic realm. Obviously, and on the online, what people see in social media is more fitness, but my brand is very much holistic. And every client I work with is not just about getting them to the competition stage. It's about who are they becoming, and are they building who they are inside. And a lot of my clients, yeah, they transition into other areas of coaching and mentoring with me, because I believe so much in it, right? And
Mm.
I want them to live a life where it's not just about, like, do you have the next biggest bicep or shoulders, but, like, like, do you have a healthy relationship with your husband? Do you have a good family life? Do you have time for your children? Do you wake up every morning excited to live your life with purpose, right? So
Yeah, I love that. And I was reading on your website that you you were saying that, okay, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, but you want to be called an impact or a giver and a friend. And I think from what you've been telling me about your journey, I think you do that, and it's so beautiful that you can, and wanting to make that impact originally in future generations with kids, but now you're like creating impact and it's still future generations because it's a flow down effect. So who you're impacting now will impact their children, and then their children. So it's
absolutely.
such a
Yeah.
beautiful cycle. Yeah, thank you. So Clarice, I'd love to go deeper with you if you're up
Yeah.
for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I know you've touched on, quite a few things that have happened in your life already, which you would have found, challenging. But, what was the biggest breakthrough that you had from the biggest challenge in your life?
The biggest breakthrough. Yeah. Like, I think the biggest thing, and it relates to, at 27 when everything fell kind of
Mm,
apart. It was that realization, like, we really are not defined by titles, positions, degree, grades, even looks. I mean, of course, everyone wants to look beautiful. Actually, it's a natural human woman thing to want to look beautiful. But it's like, when everything's stripped away, I think what's more important is who you are as a person inside, taking away the external things, but like the internal things of, like, who are you as a person? Your character, your values, your vision, your passion. And I believe ultimately it's like, what do you actually leave in this world to make it a better place, that legacy you create. And I think that that was very apparent to me at 27, because literally it was a big transition point, because I realized, like, before 27 years old, that when I was pursuing dance and teaching, all that, I did care a lot about what people thought. And I think we all go through that. I think we have a journey. Every human being, men and women, kind of want to fit in, want to, like, kind of impress others, or like, oh, I need to look a certain way, or I need to have the newest outfit, or like, that type of thing, right? But when everything happened at 27, and I also was selling off a lot of my things when I was moving to Italy, and then everything fell. I realized, like, I just had a lot of stuff. Like, I was like, why do I have so much clothes? Like, why do I have to have like 15 pairs of shoes? And why do I have to have like, so, like, I was like, and it made me realize, like, we live in such a consumption world, and in such a world of trying to impress other people. And I think that when I lost everything, I literally don't had nothing, and I had almost no money in the bank at that point. It was like, it's like, who am I? And I realized, like, I'm still an incredibly valuable person, and the values and the vision and the passions within me is what I could use to rebuild myself and rebuild my brand and the future I want to create, which then eventually led to, obviously, my fitness company, and obviously also this mentoring coaching company. And it wasn't because I took anything from the clothes or the status, or the, all the superficial, right? It's what's inside of you that is the most important. And yeah, that is something that I really hope people hear, because it's like, the end of your life, you really cannot take anything. And so the biggest thing you want to build is yourself, in your character, and in how you impact other people's lives.
yeah, I love that. You mentioned it before, when you were going about your journey, that you started asking yourself, who am I? And that question is something that most people don't ask themselves, because you were saying that, oh, I was a teacher, but now who am I? That I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm not a dancer
Yeah.
anymore. Who am I? And that's how most people define themselves. Like, I'm a mum, I'm a wife, I'm a
Mhm.
pharmacist, I'm a coach, but that's not who you are, right? In
Right,
essence,
right.
it's your
Absolutely.
character, is what you believe in, is all those things that make you a great person. That's who
Right.
you are. It's not the titles. So I just love that that was a lesson that you learned, and you shared it with everyone that's listening, because it's just so important to ask that question, even if nothing is falling apart right now.
Absolutely,
Just ask that
right?
question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, it keeps people in a journey of continuing to want to better themselves when it is not superficial. Like the example I can give you is, like, if someone has a superficial view of obtaining the most fit body, and it's just for that superficiality, right? Like, it's going to be this cycle of, like, I got to maintain this, and then I got to binge, and then I got to, like, diet, and then I've got, like, because it's all about the superficial. But if it's about, like, internal, like, I am an healthy person, I am disciplined, I believe in nurturing my body, I believe in my body's a temple that I want to respect, you will completely shift your mindset on what health actually means to you. And you can still, like, as you've seen in my way, I still love crazy stuff and lifting heavy, but I have a different mindset on it, right? It's not just about that superficiality, and it kind of goes so much deeper of like who you are is that internal character and the values that we talked about, right? That lasts for a lifetime.
Yeah, it's really embodying all that rather than it's kind of like this separate thing to you. It's having that belief in every cell of your being that that's who I am, and then striving towards that goal rather than
Right.
go, oh, I want to do that, but you don't have all the all the important bits to tie it all together, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that.
I think it's like if something is, and I talked about a book with you, I guess I mentioned it, but that a mindset book is about just, a fixed mindset is about getting to this goal. Like, it's like I just have to hit this goal, and then it's like it's very dangerous because it's like that destination and I have to just hit it. Whereas when you value the process of yourself becoming someone, then that's where you continue to grow through a lifetime. You continue to better yourself. You never stagnate, and you never just like, oh, I hit it and I stopped growing. Like,
Yeah,
you're always growing. So having that continuous growth mindset and not a fixed way of looking at life or goals, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. And having that, um, and also having that belief that you can get there. And if you don't, if you're in the fixed mindset, I love that book mindset. So,
yeah, so
um,
good.
and it's having that goal, but if you don't hit it, then you think you're a failure and that you're stupid or wherever it is. That is a fixed mindset, but it's being able to understand that, okay, I've got my goal here, but I'm going through this journey to get there. Okay, I haven't got there. This isn't working. How can
Yeah,
I course correct or learn from that and then keep going in a different route? So you might take a scenic route instead of this straight route, right? But when
yeah.
you're in a fixed mindset, you just think, okay, I need to get here and I just need to travel this path, but it's never like that, right?
No, no, exactly. And that's why I say, like, in especially talking about health and fitness space, if people have a fixed mindset, that's where, because people have often said like, oh, but competition can be so dangerous. I say, if they're not taught well or right the mindset,
Yeah,
it's like you hit your target, and then they're like, okay, then I can now eat like 10,000 calories the next week, because like because they hit their goal,
yeah,
right? And it wasn't about like, oh, what did I learn in this process? What did I develop in myself? What about the lifestyle habits of not intaking so much sugar, right? Like, when you're comp prepping, and I need to have these habits of drinking this much water and all of this. And you value the habits and what is building in yourself in the journey of it, that growth journey,
yeah,
um you're always excited. Like, I'm always excited, like, okay, what's the next thing I can grow in and build myself in, right? What's
yeah,
the next challenge, right?
yeah.
So, because like I'm not fixed in the way I'm looking at something. So
Yeah, I love that. So, Clarice, you went through quite a big journey, especially when everything fell apart for you at the 27. What were some of the tools or teachers that were really helpful in helping you get back on your feet and going in moving forwards to your next challenge and your next goals?
um yeah, like, the I think the first thing is, I think one of the things I always say is like, people need to, number one, have time to give themselves space to reflect. I think that's really crucial. And this is something I've learned actually because of the mentors in my life. I'm a natural doer, so I'm very driven and I go. And one of the things I've learned over 7 years is like, you need to, number one, give yourself space to slow down and think about like, where are you going and why are you doing what you're doing? And that has really helped me a lot because it's like giving me perspective on things that I might have just like bulldozed through, And so definitely like space for reflecting. I would say another thing would be gratitude practice. That's huge. All the people I mentor and coach know that's one of the biggest philosophies I talk about is you know um, always having a gratitude mindset and waking up with maybe doing a gratitude journal or a gratitude jar. I have a gratitude jar, and whenever you are in moments of fear or doubt, or we all will have our days, I just have to put myself back into what am I grateful for? And I sometimes will get teary-eyed because I realize like I have been given so much. Like I've been given so much, and to live in North America, Canada, like I live in the top percentage of the world. I was given a good family to live in, and yeah, we all have struggles, but like it's like, man, am I grateful for the life I have. And when you have this abundancy in your mindset, no matter what is happening around you, you just approach life with so much. Yeah, I would say it gives you passion, it gives you energy, it gives you just the love for people, and you don't hold on to kind of the negative feelings, or, because gratitude functions in abundance. It's an abundancy mindset. Whereas when you're often in fear, doubt, or tough times come, it's easy to go to scarcity mode and easy to go into fear-based mode. But the two can't really exist together. So for me, when I get myself back into a gratitude mode, I really, there's nothing that I'm just like, I'm so happy. There's no, I'm so grateful. There's nothing I can like complain about.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing. And a third thing I'll say for sure for me is having the right people in your life. I honestly will say relationships have changed my life. And by that, I mean, mentoring, coaching relationships. And I had great coaches for dance. I have great coaches for fitness, which I am really grateful for. But the mentors that have been in my life for 7 years, they've changed everything. They've helped me see blind spots. They've walked with me through things. They given me resources and books, but they also were there to listen and normalize my struggle. And I really believe like, yes, we can read books and audios, and there's great info out in our world. But I think nothing will change someone's life as much as relationships, because we're a human breathing person to a person. And when someone is struggling, or when I'm coaching someone, I can jump on the phone to talk to them. I can be like, hey, like, I've been there. It's okay. Like, I know what it's like, and I believe in you. That is very different than just reading a book. And so I really believe like the having like surrounding yourself with the right people and having mentors and coaches who live a life that you desire is so important. And I believe everybody should have a mentor and coach of some sort in their life. I really believe that. And so those would be the three things that has really helped me.
Yeah, beautiful. And well, everything that you said totally resonates with me as well. And really having that, as you're saying, having that coach and mentor is just so important, because you don't want to shine the light. You don't want to see the light in the dark places, right? And that coach and mentor will go, look at that shit. You need to look at that shit, bring it up and deal with it, because that's me back. Because oftentimes we're like, oh yeah, yeah, I know that, but you don't actually really do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, and relationships, yes, because yeah, we're human beings are just all about connectedness, and we are
Yeah.
all connected, and having relationships just makes such a big difference. And yeah,
Right.
yeah, I just
And
love.
really, yeah, and relationships, I feel, also opens many doors. Like I met some of the people I did because of one person connecting me to another, and it's changed my life. And that's why I think like one thing is like, books are great, information is great, but I think we can never replace personal connections, and ever really replace, I believe, the one-on-one relationships of someone working with you, beside you, walking beside you in life, right? So
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And you already touched on this, but the book that changed your life, what is the title?
Yes. It's the mindset book. I know you love it too, by Carol Dweck. And yeah, it's just, I think when I read it, it's like, I think we all go in thinking, oh, yeah, I'm growth minded. Of course I am, right? We naturally like think that. And you start reading the book and you're like, oh, no, I'm really fixed in my way of thinking. It's like it like opens like kind of slaps you around, I guess, a little bit, and you're like, oh yeah, okay. And but it's great because you're like, oh wow, like I didn't realize I was that fixed way of thinking, or
Yeah.
which I mean, growing up in an Asian family, like I had really high standards for myself always, but it was like always like, okay, no, I wanted the perfect grades. I wanted everything to be right. And like, but a perfectionist mindset is fixed, right? And I, really like reading that book was like, I still have that in me. I
Yeah.
know. And it's like, but also it was really cool because it was like realizing everybody is in a spectrum. Like there's fixed mindedness in all of us, and the difference is just, will some people be willing to recognize it and be willing to change and start to move towards the spectrum of growth mindset? And I just thought it just is life changing for myself. I started being like, okay, I can work on this, I can work on this. And failure is great. Failure is just a stepping stone for the next thing. When something that goes wrong, like how can I learn from this? You know, and it takes away the fear. When when you're perfectionist, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything wrong. It has to be perfect, right? But when you have a growth mindset, you're like, well, I still want to go well, but I know I will probably make mistakes. So what can I learn from this? And you're more likely to try things. You're more likely to risk, right? And yeah, and I'm still on a journey. I think I will always be on a journey. I call myself a recovering perfectionist, and I think that though I'm very cautious of it, and I try to catch myself. And if I don't, my mentors typically do, which that's what we need, good people in our life, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that book, oh my gosh, was phenomenal. And I since then have recommended it to so many people around me,
Yeah.
and a lot of people I mentor and coach. And literally they read the book and they came back to me and they're like, it transformed my life. Like I think so differently. And they shifted the way they thought about food, the way they thought about fitness, the way they thought about just even relationships.
Yeah.
Because if you have a growth mindset towards every area of your life, radically different approach to how you live your life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. And I love that book also because a lot of the personal growth books tend to be more on the spiritual woo woo side, and a lot of people aren't kind of go, I don't want that. But this is more like evidence based. She's done lots of studies and to see how say children react to being told one thing versus another, and how that's a fix and growth mindset. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of evidence based. So for those people who are more logical and don't believe in all the other stuff, this is a really good book for them
Yes.
to really get into as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was actually a related book that's not exactly the same, but it's called Switch on Your Brain by
Yeah.
Carolyn Leaf. And I just thought reading that was really cool because the science behind that was
Yeah.
phenomenal, because they did research and hook like people up
Yeah.
to test whether people could, um, with habits and the way they thought, there were certain neurons that were firing
Yeah.
whenever those patterns came up, and that if they didn't utilize those habits, like they didn't actually, they changed and focused on new habits, built new habits into their life, those neurons eventually atrophied,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And new neurons were actually starting to fire in different parts of their brain,
Yeah.
all about neuroplasticity, right? And so it's like, actually, you can change.
Yeah.
Like, this is scientifically proven,
Yeah.
and like fixed mindset, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm born this way. This is how I am. Or, I've always been like this. I'm like, no, that's not true. You can change. And
Yeah.
the brain scientist says so too.
Right.
So,
evidence. It's not
Yeah.
just all people talking about, oh, you just need to change your mindset, but there's actual evidence for
Yeah.
it as well. So I love that. Oh, I'll have to add that onto my
Yeah.
reading list. Yeah.
Great book.
And it's so true because I think for a lot of us, we've been conditioned to think, oh, babies and kids are sponges and they can learn everything. When you're older, you can't. But that is such BS, right? Because you can.
Yeah, totally, you can, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is, like, when we look at how amazing babies and little kids grow, it's just a testament of the phenomena of our brains, of,
Yes.
like, how we develop, and, like, if a little baby and their brains can just, like, take in the whole world, start to learn language, start to walk, like, at
Yeah.
20, 30 years old, you could learn a whole new skill. You
Yeah.
could learn a whole new way of thinking, a new language, like it really can. And that has radically transformed so much of things, like, before it would be like, oh, I don't know if I could do it. Wait a second, like, is that a fixed mindset or growth mindset? And then you're like, I should give that a try, right? Like, so
Yeah.
just having the growth mindset just makes you bolder, more courageous, and willing to live life a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. And knowing that it's okay to make mistakes because that's part of the learning growth journey.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Love that. Thank you. So, Clarice, if you could go back to a younger version of yourself, what's the advice that you would give yourself?
Yeah, so I think the I think there's two things. I mentioned it before. The one of it is, um, focusing less about what other people are thinking and about kind of that external validation, and more about internal growth and about who I'm becoming, and just about like building me, like, let's say, like, working on being more determined, or determination or perseverance, or things like, how can I be, yeah, more courageous, so like qualities within myself, right? um Definitely that would be advice. I do know that sometimes this is necessary journey of everybody to figure out,
Yeah.
but to just care less about that. Like, I remember, just as a in the dance world, like, just always being like, oh no, like, I need the next newest outfit, no, I need the, and it's like so silly when you look back. But and I do know some people still is in that space, but I think when you can let that go, it's like, it's very peaceful, because it's like you're not constantly just like just trying to, like, I need that 17th pair of shoes, like, it's like, really, like, do you really need that, and to care less about that, and just really about who you become inside. Work on becoming an authentic woman, work on being more loving, work on being more compassionate, work on, how can you serve this world better. And those qualities, like, I think last a lifetime, right? And so that is similar to what I said earlier. And yeah, and I think the second thing is more is on the same line, but just being willing to, like, love yourself more and be kinder and gentler to yourself. um Obviously, as a recovering perfectionist, it's like always the high standard, right? Like, and like, if I wasn't there, it's like, it just devastated me, especially when I was in school. I wanted like the 110, 15%. And one physics exam, I like completely blanked, and it destroyed me. I remember I was 15 years old because I put so much on, like, it has to be perfect. Like, if I'm not perfect, then, I associated that with my worth, right? Which was not the correct placement. But uh, I think just the advice I can give maybe to younger women, is just to love yourself more and know that you are worthy, because it isn't about all the external things. It's about who you are inside.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm a recovering perfectionist and a recovering people pleaser. So I
Yeah,
totally resonate with your message. And that is so beautiful because, yes, our self worth is definitely not to do with what other people think. It's really to do with us. So, yeah, to really look within and love yourself more. That's beautiful. Thank you.
absolutely.
And Clarice, I want to ask you, there's Obviously a lot of people going through change this year, more so than probably any other years. So a lot of people are going on their awakening journey or journey of, just transforming and changing. What advice or recommendation would you have for them to get rid of any fear or limiting beliefs that are holding them back?
Yeah, for sure. Limiting beliefs and fear. So the first thing is being okay with recognizing it. One of the things I always say is like, and it's something I've really learned again through my mentors, because I'm a go getter and I bulldoze forward. And I used to not really acknowledge, I think I just, because I'm such a doer, just go, right?
Mm.
But I realized like one of the healthiest things you can do is to be like, hey, it's okay to have some self-doubt. It's okay to have fear. Like that's normal. And to be okay with that, that doesn't make you less of a person, like it makes you human, to be honest, right? So to acknowledge that and to be okay with that. And then the second thing is being willing to seek for solutions and kind of look at like, well, what can I do from this? And this is the growth mindset, like that you're not a victim in your circumstances. It's not just this is a fixed situation. You are experiencing these fears and doubts, acknowledge it, but how can you grow from it? What are steps and solutions around that? And this relates to the third point, which is like tying into people who could mentor you. Because sometimes, you know, like when we're in the situation, it's so hard to have perspective on it, right? It's like an ant on the ground, like it's only going to see so far, but like us on top, we're like, we see everything around it. Sometimes that's what I feel a mentor is, a mentor or a coach who's maybe travel further and they have like a 30-foot view, they have more experience, more wisdom. They see a much broader perspective of where you're at, and you may be, in that fear zone or that doubt zone, but they're just like, no, no, this is normal. If you keep going this way, it's going to be okay, right? So having good mentors in your life who can continue to normalize your struggle and coach you forward is really crucial. So yeah, those three things. Again, like I said, relationships matter so much to me, and I think, like I said, that internal awareness and acknowledging it, and then pairing that with growth mindset, and then having great mentors in your life. So
Yeah, love that. Such great advice for anyone who's really wanting to make that change but is too scared to step forward. That is great, great advice from Clarice. And Clarice, I've just loved our conversation, but before we wrap up, I really love you to share with us what is your personal mission and what is setting your soul on fire right now.
yeah, absolutely. So my personal mission is to be love and light in this world, in whatever arena that I am in. Like I said, I know most people know me in the fitness space, but I believe you can bring love and light in any arena, as long as you are truly living an authentic self, that you truly put your eyes on others and you live a life of service to others. Because I think that inwardness is a lot of times what our world teaches of, like consuming or like what's happening to me or whatnot. And outwardness of putting your eyes on others is the greatest way to help yourself move forward, but also to spread that love and light. And through the being a love and light in the world, I believe in that can help transform people's lives holistically. So, like I said before, like what really sets my soul on fire is actually not just fitness. I see fitness as a realm of being able to start someone somewhere and get them more energy, healthier, and all of that. Um, but the actual part of what gets me excited is helping people realize their full potential in a holistic way. Like I said, like, wow, if I can help this woman have greater self confidence and self belief in themselves, that leads to a better self-esteem, which leads to her having greater self-respect for herself, which leads to a healthier relationship with her future spouse, which leads to maybe her understanding better relationship dynamics, that leads to a better marriage. Better marriage leads to better home environment, parenting, which leads to a better family dynamic in raising their children. And that ripple effect that you talked about is when you impact and you go out there with love and light, which never can be enough. I think we need more of it. That can ripple so much into from one person's life all the way into families, into children's lives, into future generations. And I do believe that's how we create legacy in people, not legacy necessarily for like my name, but for in people, because you leave the world better, because you help someone in their journey, and that in itself continues to pay it forward, right? And that gets me excited, like when I see people transform in every way possible, like internally, that is the most amazing part. And yeah, my whole philosophy, I don't know if you can see a quote behind me, is like, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others, right? And that is what I live for. That is what my purpose is to impact people's lives and to continue to be that love and light in whatever arena that I continue on and expand into.
Yeah, I love that. And I can feel your passion, and I just love that, I can feel it through the screen. So I love your mission. I love what's setting your soul on fire, and it's just amazing what you're doing. So I'm really, really grateful that you took the time out of your busy schedule to be on my podcast today. So Clarice, thank you so much again, for sharing your love and wisdom. If people want to find out more about you and how they can work with you, where should they go?
Yeah, so I mainly am on two social media platforms, so Instagram and Facebook, and the social media handle is Impact Training CY. Just that's my initial CY, so Impact Training CY. But I also have a website that I updated now, so it is my full name, so www.clariceyau.com. And I actually just created. I've been working on it a little bit, but a free resource that is kind of like a mini guide to start your fitness journey. And it has three components to it, which is one about habits and mindset around your fitness journey. Second part is just some workout tips. It's not a full workout program because that's very specific, but there's workout tips. And the third is some nutritional knowledge. So it's like a little mini guide. It's free. So people want that, they can go to my website to grab that. And yeah, and I would love to connect with anyone who would love to connect. I believe in human connection. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And as you were talking before, I can't remember who said this quote, but it's something along the lines of, people don't remember what you do, but how you made them feel.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all to do with the connection. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much, Clarice. I'll have all your details and any recommended resources available in the show notes so people can reach out to you.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for doing this. I know that just the work you're doing to like bring up and empower women and continue to spread that message is so important. And I do think like we need to encourage women to live more authentically and to continue to love on each other wherever each person is in their journey. So yeah, thank you for all the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Clarice. That's so beautiful. Got the nice
I'm a very feeling if I could
warm
hug you, I
fuzzies.
would, but we
Yeah,
can't
I
over
know. I
COVID,
wish I could
so
hug you.
it's like a virtual hug.
Yeah, virtual hug. Thank you so much. And until next time, I love you. I believe in you, and you are worth taking that first step to the life of your dreams.